작업 스튜디오 라이브 ASL에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌 13 24강 C조 경기로 인사드립니다. 안녕하세요. 이영경입니다. 자, 어느새 ASL 시즌 13 24강도 오늘 경기를 끝으로 반환점을 돌게 됩니다. 현재까지는 1, 2티어 선수들의 강세가 이어지고 있는 추세인데요. 과연 오늘 C조 경기에서는 또 어떤 결과가 기다리고 있을지 기대해보면서 경기 전 선수들과 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
자, 먼저 반가운 선수가 얼굴을 보였습니다. 프로토스의 황제 푸항 정윤종 선수입니다. 안녕하세요.
예, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 안녕하세요.
많은 팬분들이 예선에서 돌아온 정윤종 선수의 경기력을 보고 모두가 감탄을 금치 못했습니다. 여전하다, 엄청나다라는 반응들이 많았는데요. 오랜만에 현장 경기를 하러 또 오신 소감은 어떠신지요?
우선 경기하러 온 거는 진짜 오랜만이어가지고 살짝 설레기도 하고 그냥 빨리 게임 하고 싶어요.
또 정윤종 선수가 약 2년 반 만에 복귀전을 갖는다면 이 선수는 개인 리그 처음입니다. 정민기 선수와 인사 나눠볼게요. 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
생애 처음으로 예선 통과에 성공하셨습니다. 먼저 정말 반갑고요. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
네, ACS나 ASTL 그리고 각종 아마추어 대회에서 경력을 꾸준히 잘 쌓아오셨지만 ASL 예선을 뚫은 건 처음이라서 오늘 경기에 앞서서 준비하면서의 중압감이나 긴장감은 어떻게 극복을 하셨는지 좀 궁금하더라고요.
일단은 처음에 예선을 뚫었을 때는 이렇게 막 믿기지가 않았고
네.
설레고 했는데 이제 주변에 이제 많은 형들이 도와줬고 특히 변현재 형이 많이 마인드 컨트롤 해주고 도와주면서 좀 긴장감도 내려놓고 좀 편하게 임할 수 있었던 것 같아요.
디펜딩 챔피언 변현재 선수와 연습을 하셨다고 하니까 오늘 정민기 선수의 경기력이 굉장히 궁금해집니다. 본인의 진출 확률에 대해서 어떻게 예상하고 계실까요?
일단은 사람들이 다 대부분 이제 좀 안 좋은 결과가 있을 거다, 이렇게 올라가기 힘들 거다라고 하는데 일단 저는 항상 자신은 있고요. 긴장도 별로 되지 않고 이제 다만 실력이 좀 부족했는데 이번에 실력을 좀 많이 극복해내면서 좀 좋은 결과 있지 않을까 싶습니다.
기대됩니다. 또 옆에 계시는 김성대 선수와도 인사를 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
김성대 선수 최근 2시즌 동안 다소 좀 아쉬운 성적들이 이어지고 말았습니다. 그래도 이번 예선에는 분위기가 굉장히 좋았기 때문에 부진을 털어낼 수 있는 좋은 기회가 되지 않을까 싶어요. 본인 생각은 어떠세요?
근데 예선은 항상 쉽게 통과했어가지고 모르겠는데 이제 조가 쉽고 그 어렵고를 떠나서 약간 결과가 달라지더라고요. 그래서 오늘은 그냥 제 할 플레이를 잘 하려고요.
그럼 C조에 대한 김성대 선수의 생각이 어떤지 들어봐야겠는데요.
근데 솔직히 제 입장에서도 제일 쉬운 조 같고 그냥 4명이 다 서로 할만하다는 생각을 가지고 있을 것 같아요.
김성대 선수가 그래도 ASL 최근까지도 경기를 펼쳤던 선수이기 때문에 자신감 면에서는 좀 유리하지 않을까 하는 생각이 드는데 또 옆에 계신 선수도 오랜만에 또 경기장 찾아와 주셨거든요. 이경민 선수 반갑습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
네, 시즌 9 이후에 무려 4시즌 만에 본선에서 또 얼굴을 뵙게 됐습니다.
네.
오랜만에 대회 출전이라 좀 욕심이 나지 않나요? 뭔가 보여줄 때가 됐다라는 느낌 안 드시나요?
일단 저도 조를 보고 저는 약간 불안하다 생각했는데 성대가 쉬운 조라고 하니까 살짝 열받네요. 그래서 1경기 때 한번 1경을 한번 날리도록 열심히 해야 될 것 같아요.
네, 본인을 저격하진 않았는데 본인이 화가 나셨네요.
원래 도둑이 제발 저린다고 네, 저랑 민기가 저리고 있을 것 같아요. 예.
네, 자 그러면 지금부터는 팬 여러분들의 질문을 좀 드려보겠습니다. 정윤정 선수에게 남겨주신 질문인데요.
네.
시즌 8 이후 오랜만에 ASL 무대로 돌아오셨습니다. 복귀를 결심하게 된 계기에 대해서 물어봐 주셨거든요.
계기요?
네.
그냥 보성이 형이 같이 스타 방송 하자고 해가지고 원래 스타 다시 할 생각이 없었는데 같이 하자 해가지고 같이 하게 됐는데 그래서 대회 나오게 됐습니다.
또 ASL 시즌5의 우승자이기 때문에 흔히 정윤종 선수 우리는 재능러라고 또 부르잖아요. 본인의 재능 여전한가요?
네, 재능러라고 많이 해주시는데 그런 건 아닌 것 같고 반반인 것 같아요. 저도 알게 모르게 노력도 많이 하는데 재능러면은 이번 시즌 우승하겠죠.
오.
아니면 예. 그거 아니면은 뭐 저도 그렇게 큰 재능은 없다고 생각해요. 예.
굉장히 지나가듯이 말씀하셨는데 저는 그 안에서 좀 욕심을 느꼈습니다. 한번 기대해 보도록 하겠고요. 이번에는 정민기 선수에게 남겨주신 질문입니다. ASL에서 처음 만나뵙기 때문에 아무래도 굉장히 궁금한 점들이 많으셨나 봐요. 그 중에서 아이디, 비숍 어떤 의미인지 물어봐 주셨네요.
일단은 Be Show and Prove의 줄임말이고 보여주고 증명하라라는 뜻입니다. 그리고 오늘 그 아이디의 뜻을 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
아, 내가 왜 비숍인지 오늘 보여주고 증명하겠다라는 포부까지 밝혀주셨는데요. 굉장히 의미가 있는 아이디였네요. 자, 이어서 김성대 선수에게 남겨주신 질문입니다. 최근 2시즌 동안 24강에서 연달아서 좀 무너지는 모습이 있었는데 이번 시즌 다른 모습을 보여주기 위해서 어떤 것들을 좀 준비해 오셨을지 물어봐 주셨네요.
근데 원래 항상 매 시즌 경기 준비는 열심히 했어가지고 다른 거는 딱히 없는데 근데 이번에는 저도 이제 변현재 선수한테 좀 부족한 거를 많이 물어봤고요. 원래 이제 제 개념이 좀 자신 있어서 저 알아서 했는데 이번에는 좀 배울 게 많을 것 같아서 많이 물어보고 준비해왔어요.
도움이 많이 됐나요?
네, 확실히 최근에 게임을 많이 한 친구는 다르더라고요. 그래서 많이 배우고 왔습니다.
이경민 선수의 일격이 과연 변현재 선수의 도움에 좀 뚫리지 않을지도 궁금해집니다. 이경민 선수에게 질문 드리겠습니다. 이름을 가리고 봐도 이경민 선수 심시티만 보면 90% 이경민 선수구나 라고 알 수 있을 정도로 정갈한 심시티가 이경민 선수의 약간 트레이드 마크인데요. 평소에 생활 습관 정리 잘하는 스타일이신지 물어봐 주셨어요.
원래 제가 약간 하기 싫어하는 걸 좀 먼저 하는 스타일이라서 심시티는 그냥 뭔가 이게 삐뚤어지면 게임이 안 돼요. 그냥 뭔가 하나의 약간 루틴이라고 할까요?
네.
그래갖고 그런 거에 좀 말리는 것 같고 평소에는 그냥 무난한 것 같아요. 그냥 일상 남자? 예. 그런 것 같습니다. 예.
하기 싫은 일을 먼저 한다는 게 굉장히 인상 깊은데요. 자, 이제 네 선수의 경기 각오를 끝으로 한 말씀씩 들어보겠습니다. 이경민 선수가 먼저 한 말씀 해주시죠.
이번에 또 팬분들도 많이 응원해 주시고 그다음에 요즘 대학 문화가 많이 이렇게 돼갖고 또 여러 방면에서 응원을 많이 받았는데 부끄럽지 않은 경기 하도록 최대한 열심히 해보겠습니다.
네, 김성대 선수.
저도 뭐 항상 열심히 해왔지만 이번에도 또한 저희도 감성여대라고 이제 거의 다 응원을 해주고 있는 걸로 알고 있는데 꼭 보답하기로 하도록 하겠습니다.
네, 기대하겠습니다. 정민기 선수.
일단 저도 뭐 친구들도 많이 응원해주고 있고 그리고 이제 저도 대학에 이제 파이스트에 속해 있는데 뭐 K형, 파이 누나, 뭐 박태민 총장님 등등 파이스트 많은 학생들이랑 지금 교수분들이 되게 많이 응원해주고 있는데 그거에 보답해서 좋은 경기 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 좋습니다. 정인종 선수.
예. 오랜만에 경기여가지고 설레기도 하고 빨리 경기로 보여드리고 싶습니다. 네, 열심히 하겠습니다.
기대하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 네 분 좋은 경기 기대하겠습니다. 인터뷰 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.
ASL 시즌 13 24강 C조 경기를 앞두고 있습니다. 과연 오늘 살아남을 2명의 선수는 누가 될지 지금부터 경기를 통해 확인해 보시죠.
ASL 시즌 13 Unlimited.
What's up, everybody? We're welcome for Group C here at the ASL. It's Rain Bishop Action and Bingsu. This is a group especially, I'm really curious to see what the results are going to be. You know, having Rain back and him being such a phenomenal player as well as a StarLeague champion, it's a moment for any Protoss player to be excited about.
Yes, indeed. But honestly, I look at this group, Tastosis, and it seems probably like the most one-sided group. It really seems to me that Rain and Action are like 3 to 4 steps above the other two players. Look, Bingsu, a.k.a. Harangi, has some good games from time to time. Bishop, personally, I'm a fan of Bishop. I think he's a great player, but this is his first big event. So you can't see him beating these Titans.
Yeah, unless he has got some kind of energy that we rarely ever see around other veteran StarCraft players of the ASL or any StarLeague to come in here and perform that well. That would really be something else. So I think this is going to be a growing experience for him. I do want to point out that we're probably going to have results today like we've had in the past. But I'm more interested in seeing how does Rain's playstyle look. Action is, of course, somebody we're really expecting for him to maybe, become a champion himself down the road here. So this is going to be a fun one for sure.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping for some upsets just to
Sure.
make it kind of interesting here. Personally, I would love to see Bishop do well. I've mentioned it before. This guy actually switched to random before Flash and made it to the finals of an ASL qualifier. But this is his first actual ASL, and he's back on Terran full time. So it'll be cool to see how well he does. It's just, when you look at the way that, amongst the players in this tournament, is he not the weakest name? He is, right?
I think he has to be, just because, regardless of ladder performance or how you've done in amateur leagues, this really does add a new degree of pressure. And it is really, it's almost its own thing. So I think you're probably right. I too would love to see him really perform well. Bingsu here, this guy is also an excellent player, also known as Harangi. But, I think when you compare him to the other Protoss and the Zerg here, it's just hard to imagine him surviving.
Yeah. Rain, I would expect to beat pretty much everyone PvP no matter what. And so Harangi, the 8th best Protoss in the world or whatever, probably not going to have too much of a shot. Action hasn't been as good lately.
It seemed like
but,
it.
Yeah.
Let's see how he does here today. I mean, Action's a pretty scary player when he's on top of his game, but you're right, he hasn't looked as good as maybe a year and a half ago.
Well, we're going to go into this first match. As you can see, this is by far the weakest match for Rain out of the 3, and I would definitely actually agree with that sentiment overall. Rain is like the best PvP player I've ever seen. Look at that, 16-3, just ridiculous. And his PvZ and his PvT, I think, are closer than what these stats portray. But yeah, he should be solid enough here against Bishop. Although I have to be frank, I haven't seen many Rain games lately, right? He went and became a variety streamer for a bit. Have you seen a lot of his play lately?
No, I haven't. And he was one of the guys I would watch the most. So, I doubt he's the kind of player that's going to lose it, that much. He was always extremely talented. And, here's Bishop, who, for those of you who are very hardcore into competitive StarCraft, like on all fronts, you might be fairly familiar with him. But I think even for a lot of the Korean viewers who are more casual or who just only watch ASL, this is very much a new face.
Yeah. And he's really good. He's been one of the top amateur Terrans for years. I used to, he has a little bit of English. I've spoken to him at qualifiers and stuff before. He's knocked me out. And he's a really nice guy. He is a very strong Terran, but the pressure that you have playing on stage, man, you can even see him kind of fiddling there for a moment. So
sure, it's a bit nerve-wracking, especially that countdown starts and all eyes are on you. Rain, of course, is such a pro here. This should be one-sided. I hope it's not. I am, again, very curious to see how Rain approaches against the Terran here on this map. And let's also keep in mind, hold on, looks like Bishop may called for
fixing something here.
Yeah.
I think he actually just wanted the mask off.
Yeah, I don't believe the players have to wear a mask, so
they don't have
makes sense. Okay, so just had to remove his mask, and we're going to get into this game, guys. This is the first game here in Group C, Rain versus Bishop. The winner will go on to the winner's match here in the ASL.
이클립스에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, so we have Rain in the bottom left here on Eclipse, which leaves us Bishop in the top right. There is one thing I do want to mention a lot of the very, very top pros, when we watch them play Eclipse TVP from either side, it seems like the really top guys actually aren't that good at the very specifics of Eclipse. Like, you know, when we watch Zealots walk by the bunker and they don't block it, it's like, dude, do you even play this map on the ladder at all? You know?
Oh,
because
I see
this
what you're
happens
saying.
every single game. So I wonder, that could end up helping, right? Like, Rain is so famous and so good and so, like, beloved and popular and everything that, like, does he actually ladder a whole lot and play a bunch of Eclipse against strong Terrans on the ladder? Whereas Bishop, someone that isn't as likely to have consistent practice partners in whatever games he wants, probably plays quite a bit more ladder, and thus has Weeko Protosses cheesing him all day and all night.
Yeah. No, I mean, in the ladder experience is very different, but I do think when you're on the ladder, you definitely get a certain type of exposure. Oh my God, he's going to do gate into gas steal. That's so funny. In a kind of fast expanded position.
Yeah.
Very cool to see.
This is actually, in my games, this is the most common thing that I run into.
Oh, is that right?
On this is gate at the natural and gas steal. Yeah, that plus gas steal Nexus first are like the top two, I think, right now, and then obviously proxy gate gas steal. Those are like the three really, really common ones.
Yeah, this is one that I'm not as familiar with. I do wonder how this fares. You know, assuming he fast expands behind this, if it's vulnerable to an SCV Marine Rush.
Yeah, I would say not really. Like, if you had the absolute best micro ever, if you had like Flash and Light both microing for Terran, then I think it becomes a high percentage that you could probably knock out the expansion, but it's like you would literally have to have the Marines take no hits, like, at all. Because, you know, they get actually a decent amount of Zealots that can bring their probes out and things like that. So without the Vulture there to help, it becomes a little bit difficult.
Real quick here, just to talk about Rain, I got to say, this is one of the most talented players of almost any game you could ever look at. I mean, this guy, StarCraft 2 champion, StarCraft 1 champion. His stream was so big, he basically became a variety streamer. One of the biggest streams on AfreecaTV, in fact. So it's not surprising that he did take a break. I mean, there's a lot of massive financial opportunities that far exceed anything you could really get, even as a pro in some cases, when you get a big enough stream. So it's not surprising to see him take some time off, but I'm really excited that he's actually back because I feel like he brought so much to the game. And look at this setup here. He's got the Zealot. He's tucked this behind so that he can basically flank these Marines. There's a chance, yeah, you can see the screen for Bishop was actually over where the... oh, no, and he didn't get the block. The screen was over the left side, so he didn't see the Zealot come until it bumped into him.
Yeah, and this is pretty annoying. Like, there's another Zealot coming up right now. Maybe even two Zealots, I'm not entirely sure. Good micro, though, from Bishop overall. He's made enough Marines, and, well, with the next one coming in and only 3 Marines, and they've already taken damage, yeah, this is getting a little bit difficult.
Did we see, that's another Zealot? There's 2 Zealots coming here, is that correct? Yeah, there is, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to see them spaced out like that.
Yeah, it seems like he kept one at home for a little bit. But look, everything is actually falling apart for Bishop right now, unfortunately. Like, he had enough, and then the Zealot coming in from behind, he actually sent 2 SCVs that could have blocked the ramp, but he did not micro it right. So it's pretty tough. I don't think he's dead, but, you know, this could have been so much cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, Bishop's going to hold. But, you know, a couple of Marines were forced out here. This Zealot's going to come. Now, there's nothing inside the bunker. But, I mean, he's forcing some SCVs to be pulled here. Overall, I mean, a very impressive start here for Rain. Looks like that Zealot's now going to be trapped in here. Every Marine that's killed, you got to keep in mind that it's very easy for one Zealot to kill 2 Marines, and that's an even amount in price. So, you know, the Protoss is getting quite a bit out of that. And,
you know, obviously you don't want to be making Marines. They scale like 0. You know, after the very, very early game, they basically are useless. You will never make them or use them again. So it's kind of painful to just have to continually make those, sink that money in. And I tell you, Rain, I mean, with a very small tactic, has definitely taken a bit of an advantage in this early game.
I would say so. You know, Rain is sitting very comfortably. In your experience as a Terran player, I mean, what do you want to try to do in a position like this? Do you want to, like, go for a drop, or are you going to just try to do, you know, a powering push? What is your thought process?
Well, you kind of have to power up on units, whether that's to try to punish Protoss from doing something or just to even take your own third base, because the third is so far away and everything's so spread out that you just have to make sure that you're nailing your macro and kind of getting a lot of units. A lot of Terrans try to do like pressure builds here or timing attacks because Protoss almost always really quickly takes the third base, but it's really hard to make those work, to be honest. You can't really go through the center with timing attacks because you're fighting up a hill. And if you go the longer way, they have a shorter distance to do a counterattack against you. So it's kind of tricky, right? And you have to feel out what the Protoss is doing. Every single game on this map is really, really different. And you have to kind of feel out, what is my opponent doing? Are they going Reaver? Are they, you know, are they teching up very quickly? How quick is that third base? How many gateways are we going for? Are they going to sit in an arc? It's, you know, so it's hard to say exactly what you want to go for, but minimum 3 factories as quickly as you can.
We've got the shuttle coming up now. And as much as this is to harass, it's also nice to come in here and basically scout what's going on. You see the academy, you see the armory. And I'm sorry, did he actually get anything inside that shuttle? Or was that just a shuttle?
Not yet.
I was going to say, like, looking at this, I'm like, how did he get there so fast? So it's more of a brazen shuttle scout. I think that's actually an observer behind that coming up there. I think it's actually a pretty smart move. It's not a surprise to go Reaver, especially on this map, or kind of in general in the matchup. So just to have the immediate scout to see what they're doing is going to be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing the armory spinning gives you, like, a ton of information here. Now, a nice scan comes down for Bishop. He sees that Reaver, which obviously he expects, but he's more looking at the gateway count. Stargate on the way.
Wow.
And it looks like we are going to get that third Nexus from Rain. So this is probably just going to go directly into Carrier, which is definitely gaining a bit of traction lately.
Yeah, Carrier has really grown in popularity over the last 6 months. You know, Carrier's always been a thing. Don't get me wrong, but this kind of rush into Carrier and then the Protoss really mastering the balancing act of not getting too greedy and getting the carriers out in time. And, you know, this pairs extremely well when you have it with a Reaver. There's just a lot you can do there.
Well, the Reaver kind of stops you from dying, so you get into your carriers, which is exactly what you're looking for. So he does really damage one of those Goliaths, picks off another one there as well, and just backs up for now. Bishop is on 3 factory, and he's getting those additional upgrades here as well. Oh, look at that.
So
he even comes
good.
back and picks off the hurt Goliath. That's painful, man.
Now, we talk about this a lot in the matchup PvT, but we normally talk about it with tanks being killed. And so a lot of times you look at tanks get picked off one by one early on, and it's like, man, this Protoss is going to be in good shape later on. But what's really kind of sexy about what Rain's doing is he's making sure to pick off Goliaths. So he picked off about 2 or 3 Goliaths there, which really starts to matter in the long run as the carriers begin to pick up. Because if your Goliath count ends up being too low, the carriers just kill the Goliath, and then you literally can't do anything with the ground armor.
Yeah, in fact, you'll just lose the game because the tanks can't get away.
Right. You have Protoss's ground army runs away, and the carriers pick off everything.
Also, it's just useful because, you know, the Goliath does cost gas, and it takes longer to build than a Vulture. And the thing is, you don't want more than 4 Goliaths. 4 Goliaths, 2-shot a shuttle, right? So, like, if you can get them below 4, then suddenly it takes that much longer for them to pick this off. So, very nice moves there from Rain, who looks like, I mean, is he gonna... He's putting pylons all over the place, but still hasn't started that third Nexus. So this is straight up 2-base Reaver into Carrier.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why we saw the shuttle scout. He wanted to confirm, okay, is this type of game? Because if Protoss takes a third, usually if a Terran's good enough, you can kill them here. But the moment that he realizes, oh my god, once he realizes what's going on, he says, okay, I had the option to take the third, and now I'm not going to. Going from 4 to 6 gates, depending on where you're at and how much you're willing to cut probes, this is kind of the popular play with some of the good Protoss players, is to basically try to match the Terran and win the fight when it comes to the low ground.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate the way that Rain is playing this. It's like he's approaching this very much like a math problem, which is something that you can do with the carriers, where he's really slowed down getting that third base, which means that timing attacks are less likely to work. And this is like a very thin line that's being walked right now, where if Rain can slow him down enough, he'll hit that critical mass of carriers, and suddenly it becomes really difficult for Bishop to make anything occur.
One problem for Rain in a position like this is he can't really contest to the Terran's position where Terran's at right now. Like, let's say that this was a 3-base mass shuttle Dragoon speed lot build. This is where the Terran might be the weakest, but right now there's really not a whole lot that Rain can do. Rain kind of has to stay back and respect this. Ooh. Does manage to pick off that that worker there. I do like the pylon, by the way, up here. Oh no, Rain's going to lose this if he's not careful.
Definitely has to be careful about that. But yeah, he does have pylons all over the place, and that will slow Bishop down. I really appreciate he even blocked that bottom right, like kind of islandy base that is on Bishop's side. So he's making sure that it's going to be hard for Bishop to actually set up any additional bases when the game gets chaotic. Really big brain stuff coming out of Rain here, who is bringing out his carriers now.
Yeah, +2 should be on the way here for Rain as well. That +2 makes a huge difference. You know, there's a point in time where the carriers, especially with +3, once they target something, especially when you have enough of them, I mean, the targeted thing just disappears. And you have to spend less time sort of playing the keep away game with the carrier, and you could just do more targeting and kiting. And so this appears to be a setup where he's going to send the 2 carriers out and probably go for a Reaver drop. You can have the 2 carriers come in over the natural and drop your Reavers right there and try to kill some workers. And this is probably one of the only tactics available for a Protoss in this part of the game where you can directly engage a Terran.
Yeah, he might try that. You're definitely right. He's bringing them into position for that exact tactic.
I think he's got 2 shuttles. So one's full of Zealots, that's to kill the turrets, and the other one, and he'll still use the interceptors to soak damage, but yeah, same idea.
He might even go to the main with those Tasteless, like fly right in, because that's going to buy him the most possible time if he goes into the main base.
Yeah, he might use the interceptors, start to target the turrets, and then from there fly in here, and this is, I think, a really smart punish. I'm actually learning a lot from this game here.
Yeah.
Because
this is all about really slowing them down. Look at this. Like, you have to get up here and deal with these. The Reaver's way back here. It looks like he is going to go ahead and target the depots and armory as well.
So +2 attacks done. I guess this wasn't upgrading armor. But taking that out, of course, you can't get Goliaths in the game. And now he brings the Dragoons up. I mean, this is a pretty sexy setup right here. Looks like one carrier almost is picked off. It's kind of crazy to think of how many things are going on for both players. But now the Dragoons can run up here, and I gotta say, man, I mean, Rain is making this look so easy.
Yeah, like that. These tactics have been fantastic. He slows him down, draws his army in one position, and then sends his army up to harass this third base. The one thing we can say, though, not a lot of units being lost for Bishop.
Right.
So that's good. Like, I think Bishop has played a very calm, cool, and collected game so far, but it feels like Rain is just kind of outdoing him tactically.
Yeah, I think Rain is, I heard this expression, I really like it, just saying he's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, all the things that he could devote his APM to, he's there in that spot doing that. And, look, Terran is fending this off. This game is far from over, but I think it's important to note that behind this, there's so many Zealots that have been made. And, Vultures can beat Zealots. Tanks and Goliaths are actually not very good against that. The Zealots kind of become like Zerglings or something, where they can just sort of charge into there. And I think now is the moment Bishop's going to try to attack. I don't know if the number of Zealots is correct, but, you kind of, in this phase of the game as the Protoss, treat the Terran's army as like a Hydra army. At least the Goliath tank portion of this. That's why these Vultures sniping the Templars are so important. Psystorm is very good against the Goliaths.
Now, look at this. Oh, those Goliaths on the high ground have the chance to pick off carriers, but Bishop doesn't realize. No!
Oh, man.
The bad pathing almost paid off. Oh, Tasteless, he actually could have killed at least one carrier there.
No doubt. No doubt he could have killed one.
Oh, man. Oh, because that was actually just poor pathing. Like, he was trying to attack, move his units down the long path, and then some of them just walked the other way. Oh. Oh, Tasteless.
Oh, it's brutal.
Hurts my soul. I'm like, oh, if you get like a carrier right now, that's huge.
Yeah, the Protoss really can't afford to lose any carriers, to be honest, because otherwise, you know, you just end up in a position where the Goliaths are going to outpower the carriers here. I do like the position overall right now for Rain, especially taking this base down here at the bottom. It's really putting a strain on the Terran. The Terran still has enough muscle army-wise that I think there is still a threat to the Protoss. The problem for the Terran, and there's not a lot that can be done about this, is that the carrier count is going to grow, and the tanks in this game are a bit finite. I mean, the Goliaths are as well because they also require gas, just not nearly as much, but, you know, in a position like this, you could start to really launch attacks onto the Terran's natural, and if they get too ambitious about chasing the carriers down, there's a ground army over here on this high ground. So it's a really desirable position here for a Protoss.
Yeah, like he's definitely done a lot of things well, but we have to give some props here to Bishop, honestly. Like, he's played this so calm for it being his first, like, real big pro match. The fact that he's taking a fourth here, the fact that he hasn't done a full attack yet, that's just like him being as calm as can be, and he's massed up a very strong army. Let's see if he can actually force us all back. The Psystorm comes down, not the best for Psystorm there, honestly. A DT walks in the middle of everything, drags a mine, a very good hit there. But as you can see, Bishop's army is very, very strong comparatively to Rain's at the moment.
This is the moment that Protoss can get a little bit vulnerable. A lot of those interceptors were shot down, so obviously Protoss can remake that pretty easily, but you do have to back off and actually refill the carrier. And we're at a point now for Bishop where when he gets the fourth base, you know, it's a funny thing, you know, before the third base, there's a lot that Protoss can do, but, you know, right now it's kind of hard to find a spot to hit into. Now, as I'm saying that, Terran has walked out of position, so Protoss is just going to kill this command center, but had he managed to come up here and be in a better position, it might be a little bit tougher for the Protoss to pull something off, but no siege tanks, Psystorm's coming down, big damage over here to Bishop.
Oh, where are the rest of his units? It was
know.
like 2 siege tanks only. Everything else is like elsewhere. Not the greatest army movement here, unfortunately, for Bishop. And Rain starts to take a very good engagement. These Psystorms just so valuable.
Yeah, and targeting down those 2 tanks. And really, when all the tanks are gone, there's nothing that can be stronger for the Protoss. There it is, GG. Once you kill the tanks, the Goliaths alone are not going to beat Speed Lot Dragoon Carrier. You know, you can just always outmaneuver that.
And you know what? Rain takes the win. We saw some of his brilliancies in that game. I think that the double shuttle shove into the main base was probably the best move that he made all game. Like, that was fantastic. He slowed Bishop down quite a bit. Bishop didn't play poorly, though. I'm excited to see how he does in the loser match.
No, I think Bishop played extremely well. I think he was really pressed early on to take control of the game, and I think even though he had a hard time, he pulled back. He's showing a lot of promise. You know, some Bishop, a guy who's been playing for so long, he was put up against one of the best players in the entire tournament. He held his own. I think this guy has got a lot of potential, and that was shown right there in that game.
Definitely do have to agree with you there. A great first game. All right, we're really picking up this season.
Yeah.
Okay. Rain goes that winner's match, and we'll await the winner of our next match, which is going to be Action versus Bingsu. Don't go away. We'll be right back with that.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 뭐야?
새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘에 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
핫식스와 함께하는 ASL.
Hey guys, welcome back. A big thanks to you all once again for supporting these casts on the Patreon. Patreon.com/ASL English. We just recorded a new Secret Tastosis podcast.
Don't tell anyone.
I was trying to think what the name of that is. Yeah, don't tell anyone about that for the Patreon subscribers, so definitely do check that out. We appreciate you guys so much, and we're just so happy that ASL is in full swing now.
And this has been an amazing ASL minus Group A. Honestly, the games have been really good. It's exciting to have these old faces coming back, like we saw Rain here.
Yeah.
I was curious if he was ever going to return. But he's looking to be in top form. Again, guys, we really appreciate the support. Thank you, everybody who's been supporting us on that Patreon.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it's great to see that Rain is playing very, very well. He actually seemed a little bit unhappy with his play. He kind of gave himself a head shake after that victory.
Oh, did he?
Not sure exactly what about. Like, I think he played a solid game overall, and he just kind of outmaneuvered, which is always a great way to win. Now we're going to go into our second match. Action, obviously a very accomplished Zerg player. This guy has become, or he was a regular in the round of 8, but it feels like in the last year, he hasn't been as good as the year before. He was like getting better and better every year, and then he kind of fell off a little, right?
It did seem a little bit like that. I don't want to read too hard into that. I think that, he's still a phenomenal player. He's known for putting more hours in than almost anybody else out there. But, yeah, let's see how he manages in this group. Again, kind of like the other groups, I think result-wise, we're sort of expecting Rain in action to kind of go through the motions and get out. But Bingsu is good.
Yeah, I think he's actually a little bit underrated.
I agree. I think he's kind of like... he's sort of like the Saxiri of Protoss players. Does that make sense? Where like he's very, very good.
Okay.
And everybody knows that, but he just isn't in the spotlight as much as, a Bingsu or a Mini or a Snow or a Rain, or these guys where when I say their names, I think to the ears of the listeners, there's a lot more memories of them there. This guy's very good. He's always been in all the major StarCraft tournaments in the last couple of years, as we're here in the very modern era of Brood War. And he's able to hang with the best.
Yeah, and he does put out some good games. His PVZ maybe a little bit weaker than the other matchups. We'll see what he can do here against Action. Again, it is going to be on Eclipse. And, so far for ZVPs, we've seen a lot of cheesy play, but that's not normally Action's MO. He will mix them in, but definitely a good macro game player. Let's see if he's going to bring it there for us. Have a longer game on Eclipse, maybe.
All right, our Eclipse game is ready to go. The winner goes on to face off against Rain in Match 3 of Group C.
이클립스에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, we have Action in the top right. And in the bottom left, we have Bingsu, again, a.k.a. Horangi, which means tiger in Korean.
And Bingsu is a, isn't this a bubble tea? Am I making this up? No. Bingsu is
Bingsu
is a shaved ice.
A dessert. Yeah.
Shaved ice dessert.
That's right. It's like Korean ice cream, basically. If you guys ever visit Korea, they do have Bingsu in summer months at like a lot of coffee shops and stuff like that.
It's really tasty. Is Bingsu Korean? I didn't know.
Yeah. The shaved ice treat with the like condensed milk on it, and there's different types of it where you put different.
Oh, that's funny.
My kids love it. I
thought it was actually. I just assumed it was from another country. I didn't know it was a Korean thing. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Bingsu is a phenomenal player. I do think his ID is also a nod to Bingsu, although I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know, just kind of. It's a funny thing when somebody does that. It's like White Raw, where, you know, his name was a nod to Null Raw, and then eventually White Raw gets good. He's kind of within the same orbit, but he's got a name that's you know, a nod to a legend.
No, I know that is funny.
Yeah.
Like, remember Marine King Prime?
Right.
Where his name, he literally just named himself Boxer, and they were both in GSL at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, this is a thing that actually happens, not just in Korea, but I think everywhere, where somebody, you know, puts a name after, you know, a person they look up to, but they're so motivated they end up kind of catching up to that person, and they end up in the same space. This time around, Bingsu, he is going to go Forge first. He did the probe run around to just take advantage of the possibility of a hatch on 12, where he could cannon rush behind, but you can see that, you know, Action didn't go for that.
Yeah, and in fact, Action with that pool first going to be completely fine. We're going to have to get some cannons down here for Bingsu, but, I mean, everything should stabilize pretty normally, and let's see how long he can keep that probe alive just to, you know, make sure that he's not getting rushed from Action. Because that's one thing you got to remember, right? Like, Action is known as, and I think a lot of people think of him as, a late-game macro-esque player, a player who wants to get to things like Defilers, but he will mix in the cheeses. I think that's part of the reason why he is successful, right, is that he won't pigeonhole himself all the way into that macro mindset.
Now, you have to put 2 cannons down if you see more than 4 lings. I don't think he's going to try to just dive in, but you need to be a little bit scared here, you know, as the Protoss. The second cannon's going to finish. Lings can't run in. The Nexus is going to come down as Action gets his 3rd hatchery. So right now, the rhythm of both builds are, you know, right on point.
And the probe going to stay alive. Ling's coming back to help kind of catch that probe. See if he can knock that out. Oh, here come the Lings up the ramp. Oh, turns it around, though. I tell you, it's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah.
Keeping a worker alive against Zerglings early on. It's such an important skill at high-level StarCraft. Like, obviously for Protoss, it's so ridiculously important, but even for Terran, you know, you really want to keep that alive, because as soon as it dies, like, half the time they'll just make a million Lings, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You want to keep it alive to watch for that.
No, I mean, it's as important as the build itself that you're doing. You know, you basically can't afford to lose this until you can either confirm that there is a den or confirm that there is a layer. And you can see, for instance, right now, Action is making the layer down here. There is a trick where you can basically click on one of the mineral patches in the main as you leave, so you can both see the layer and then try to send a probe out there. But yeah, I mean, you have to get an idea of what's going on, because Zerg have these tools that are so powerful as far as rushes that, you know, if you don't identify that the rush is or is not coming, you can end up just losing the game outright. So, you know, Bingsu's done the work he needed to do there. And now we're probably going to have the Stargate come down here. And, yeah, there it is. And it's just going to be the tech up, the normal tree. We'll see if there's any forks in that, you know, set of decisions that Bingsu has to make. But what Action's doing for now looks very, very normal. He's probably going to go ahead and get a Spire after he has the layer finished, and basically make enough Scourge that he can chase back the Corsairs.
Yeah, very, very standard stuff there. Oh, did he trap his probe?
Yeah, but that may be intentional. I mean, you do need one trap probe if you're going to make a couple Corsairs. It is.
You normally don't trap it that early, though. Like, you don't need to trap anything until 2 at least.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is, like, it doesn't make sense to trap it that early. It could be a mistake. One of the weird things with Protoss that's kind of a unique problem is that it's sometimes hard to calculate where they're going to bounce as they make the larger structures. So you sometimes end up with them getting, like, hooked into these weird spots that you weren't anticipating.
If you're on where the structure's going to be, it'll displace.
Yeah.
But yeah, that particular location, the funny thing about the bottom left of your screen, like on the bottom left of maps, is that the actual minimap pops up above the UI, so there's actually like empty space there that you can get trapped in.
Yeah.
Even if there's not another building or a wall there, there's technically a wall because of the minimap.
The maps in StarCraft are all like one giant puzzle that needs one more piece to complete it, and to put that last piece there, you need to rotate your screen to the very bottom left to have the map fill in that little square. But yeah, there's no playable territory in there. So that looks like that's what happened, was the probe got stuck between that little box and the Citadel, and I think it's a pylon. Now the Corsair is going to come in here. Notice that Action tucked these way in the back. This could be a bit of a gamble. You know, this corner is one where you can absolutely get trapped by Scourge. This almost seems like a setup from Action here. I think Action will still get the Overlord, but, you know, it can be a bit dicey. Let's see if a Scourge can come out here in time.
Oh, he's trying to dive on a Sing Overlord. That one is not going to be killed off, though. He has to run with these Corsairs. Back they go. Gateways being added right now. Does have the Templar Archives, as we see in the bottom left there. First DT popping out, and let's see if he's going to clean the Lings or just walk. Yeah, he walks past, but it looks like Action sees that.
Yeah, the idea is that, you know, even though you could kill the Lings and they might not notice, if you see the Lings are gone, then you know a DT's coming. So he wanted to try to maybe slip through there and take a fight. And it seems like on pretty much all fronts, you know, Action's prepared. You know, he knows if the Corsairs come in here, there's Scourge that are ready. Yeah, so this isn't going to do anything.
Scourge will chase him away. He tries to get a kill there on the Hydra with the DT. Doesn't quite get it. And, I mean, just a lot of Hydra production. So it looks like a really standard macro game from both sides, honestly. This is like... This is what I would consider to be basically the standard in the matchup. Although I think it's more popular right now to get speed a bit quicker and +1 rather than that DT. We still see the DT plenty.
Yeah, and the DT is, you know, even if it doesn't get much done, it does offer this bit of control. You know, when you have the mutas come out, or sorry, the Scourge come out and the possibility of mutas, having a DT that can basically poke its head in and see what's happening and also check for fourth bases is really helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, just having it out there right now, like, you'll see if there's any army movement, and generally there just won't be for a little bit with that DT out. You don't want to be, you know, overtaxing yourself. So Overlord speed finishes, they start to be sent out a little bit. He sees the DT, which then, of course, has to vacate the premises. Yeah, and with +1 attack and +1 air weapons finishing here, I think we're going to see... yeah, it's going to be +1 attack. You always get the +1 attack if you're going to get Corsairs to come in there, because you need the Zealots to deal a lot of damage. Armor is growing in popularity, especially as mid-game gets there, because your Templars don't die as fast. But he's basically looking for a fight here. And so, you know, with the +1 attack, you can totally take fights here against a Scourge. Now, this base isn't going to be an option at all, because there's no way to get in there. He may try to attack the natural. I like that little lurker egg move, by the way. That was super cute to just kind of block the ramp there. It's quite quick lurkers too, I want to say. Action teching up a little bit quicker than we see. I feel like recently we've seen a lot of Zerg players going into 6-hatch Hydra for a bit with much later lurkers, but here Action remaining on 5-hatch for a lot longer, getting those lurkers out, and I mean, he seems pretty unkillable. And look at that, the third evolution chamber as well as the Queen's Nest. So Hive on the way. Yeah, he's going to go for just like mass upgraded tier 1 units with some lurkers combined in there. Are you sure? You sure that's a third Evo? Am I seeing this correctly? Oh, it is. You're right. Yeah, that's a third Evo, man.
Yeah, so that's definitely what he's going to do. He's going to get Cracklings, Hydras, lurkers, and just start trying to take big fights here. You know, Protoss is powered up to, I think, about 8 gates. And, you know, the third is very, very late. So, you know, when the Hive is done, and Adrenal, you know, it's not a tough upgrade to get once your Hive's out, he's going to try to take a fight and maybe keep Protoss off the third.
Can he actually prevent the third here? It feels like Action is going towards something that's just not completed yet, you know?
It does seem pretty tough.
The amount of money he's spending on upgrades and going up to Hive, and like he's already got lurkers, but he doesn't have that big of an army. It feels like he wants to get up there, get his adrenal, you know, mass up a little bit more, and then make his move.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit of an overextension there. I think you might be right, Artosis. Again, you know, if you don't see the Zerg taking, oh, that's crazy. He's just going to go all in on these mutas or these overlords. I keep saying mutas because I'm kind of wondering if mutas are going to come.
Yeah. Well, you might be predicting the future right there. If you lose all those Corsairs, sometimes that Mutalisk switch is going to really do it.
I'm a little bit shocked, though, honestly, to see the Corsairs dive in like that. Like, that's surprising to me, but, you know, he might also be anticipating a timing attack like this one coming. Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this is going to, you know, pan out.
Well, that third base is going up. Action moving out with his army. He does have a lot of army supply here, sitting at 124, so only 30 down at the moment. That is, there are a lot of lurkers, and there are the mutas.
Yeah.
So he did switch into some mutas. I bet you we have a full group ready to try to snipe some of these High Templars.
I mean, that only makes sense, right? He's going to generate the threat of a counterattack, and then he's going to run right back out here. Yeah. I don't know. I really have a lot of questions about the Corsair kamikaze attack into the natural. You know, it's sometimes it's just better to have your Corsairs with your army, you know, as an escort to protect the Templars.
It's almost like he looked at the situation, decided that he no longer needed them, so let's try to injure Action. But Action wasn't really that injured by that.
Yeah. It's like he was supply blocked. He's like, oh, God.
All right, the Muta's actually harassing in this third base, going to deny some of the mining, but Dragoon's going to the natural now. Going to be able to pick off one of these macro hatcheries very quickly.
This is wildly ambitious of Bingsu to try to take a fight here. He is going to get the Hydra Den as well.
Okay.
Does he have enough to push
that cuts off a lot of the production.
Sure. But look at the counterattack that Action's making over here at the third base. We don't have it on camera, but on the minimap you can see, I mean, along with Protoss's main, I think as long as Zerg can hold this, they might not, but if they can just kind of hang on, they should be okay. But
yeah, he's doing a pretty good job with the attack. He stormed down a bunch of those lurkers. The flank from the third base is coming down. He still has some storms here.
You know, Bingsu had an impressive push. I wonder, as the rest of these eggs hatch here, if he can just run in and get the kill. I think that Protoss overextended and has now basically zoned himself out of any winnable position here. I mean, this 3 Templars, 4 Dragoons are going to get slammed by everything else that Zerg has. And there's, you know, actually there's nothing in the main here. No workers. There's no third. And effectively, Zerg has not really lost that much. He traded sunken colonies and lurkers, a hatchery and a den, to maintain his position. So I almost feel like Bingsu made the game more complicated than he really needed to, right? I mean, doesn't it make more sense for him to just stay back, get a safe third base, and wait for the fourth base of the Zerg? GG.
Yeah, you know, that was weird because he had just gotten his third, and like the third gas is so important for Protoss for Zerg, and then he just suicides all of his Corsairs to kill a few Overlords. And then those Mutas did so much. They killed like everything at the third, and then they killed everything in the main. And Action just already had a turtle position with lurkers. It's like, yeah, very weird play from Bingsu. Like that's, I'm sure he, as a strong professional Protoss, can kill a lot of Zergs like that, but you can't expect that type of play to work in ASL.
It kind of goes against the whole game theory. Like, you don't want to try to, if you're even on bases, now it's the Zerg's problem. The Zerg has to grow, I mean, if you're taking your third base and the Zerg is not taking a fourth, I think you just start to make cannons, get a better army, upgrade your units more, get the Templar energy, get Observer vision or speed. You know, that's the play, not to try to suddenly end. And, you know, the DT did stop the fourth base at the bottom. So I think that Bingsu took this game and brought it into an area that was going to be unwinnable. That's it for Game 2. Up next, Action versus Rain, possibly the best match of Group C. We'll get to that after this short break.
ASL 시즌 13 Unlimited.
Welcome back, everyone.
Everybody.
Oh my God!
I was like, damn, is Tastosis ever going to talk? Like,
I thought I had timed it
like,
out.
Guys, Tastosis left. I don't know what he's doing, but
We're back, everyone, and this is going to be a crazy match. I am really looking forward to seeing how Rain performs against Action. Action just murdered Bingsu. I do think Bingsu kind of, strategically didn't really handle that game the way that I think at the highest level it should be handled. And Action basically saw the openings, and, he's one of these guys, he knows to just go for the jugular. He took out all the probes at the main and then had the Lings hit the third base. And, honestly, it wasn't even like Bingsu was that close to breaking in and killing him. He just waited for the next set of eggs to hatch and overwhelm that. Rain, though, is a different beast when it comes to PvZ. He does seem to have a lot of, surprisingly, a lot of early and mid-game strategic wins, which is different from Bingsu, who has a lot of tactical wins. He's done weird stuff like surprise DT drops from Corsair builds to kill Larva and, stuff like that. Yeah. So let's see what he's going to do here. We're going to be on the map Metaverse, which also adds a greater degree of complexity as far as openings, especially when a map like this is so new.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see if his style has been influenced at all by Mini. That's something that really comes to mind because as Mini really rose, Rain wasn't around. So let's see if he's changed up his play some. It is time for the winner match. Action versus Rain.
It's going to be a fun one.
Take that.
We're going to go to Zuckerberg's Metaverse.
Well, this map looks a lot more fun than that, Tastosis, I gotta tell you.
It's Mark Zuckerberg, right? The head of Facebook?
Yeah.
I just realized I knew his first name. Is that going to be a thing?
What is?
Going in on the Metaverse? Like should we have our VR casting goggles on? We meet up and it's like, hey, look, now we're in a shitty office. We're doing this from home, but I want to kill myself again because now I'm in an office again. Like,
oh man, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know about all that. Like, I barely even heard about it, but it just looks.
It's been this like big VR push, and now Microsoft even is like, we're like with the acquisition of Blizzard, it's like we're gonna look into our own metaverse, and I don't know. I'm actually confused by the whole thing because I was pretty sure World of Warcraft was already a metaverse, so this actually happened like, 2 decades ago. Like, I'm still a little bit confused by it. I mean, some form of this is going to come one way or the other, but the fact that people act like this is new does confuse me.
Yeah, it almost feels like people are trying to make like the Matrix or something, like online, like an actual world online. But then you look at what they've created, and it's like a child's drawing, where you're like, I see what you're trying to do here, and I'll tell you that it's good, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's weird. It's like, I mean, with World of Warcraft, wasn't this already sorted? I mean, you could have cryptocurrency and NFTs in that, but like, it wasn't like this, didn't exist. This is like even Ultima Online. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what that is, but this world already better than what Mark Zuckerberg showed us with Facebook in that commercial, no doubt. So Rain went for a gateway opening. It was a pool on 9 with a gas cancel to get an extra drone out. And, Action does like to play like this. The 6 Lings does put Protoss on the back foot. There's a lot of ways. First of all, right now I should point out, Action doesn't know that this is Gateway first. It could be Forge first or, one of the more obtuse plays here from Protoss. But when the 6 Lings are out on the map, the Protoss has to play defense. So the probe seeing these Lings here, this should force a Zealot to turn around.
For sure. And he's probably going to have to bring it up the ramp just for a moment. Brings the probe down right now as well. And I like it. I like that Action tries to take, an active part in determining how this opening is going to go. And actually, Rain decides to just wall this off and stand his Zealots in there, but he's going to have to micro quite a bit.
Yeah, and this is actually, it can be a little bit of a dicey moment here for the Protoss. Basically, if the Zealots are not controlled perfectly and the Lings get around and block the entrance, you can kill the Zealot, and sometimes you end up winning the game. And so, and this is what I'm talking about. So they actually just run by, which is one way to deal with this tactically. The Nexus will come down, and there's going to be one Zealot here to try to fight the Lings, while the other 2 Zealots and I think a Probe are going to go across the map and basically try to fight the Zerg on his own turf. So things are getting exciting very quickly here, and it's about being able to micro on both fronts and without error.
And look at Action's third base. I mean, that is another main's natural. So that's either going to be just a closer base for a Hydralisk rush, or it could end up being one of these 4-base Turtle Zerg plays, which I know Action is quite good at.
So, okay, I was going to say, we haven't had a probe killed yet. You know, if Protoss, even though they lose a little bit of mining time here, if they can just keep those workers alive, that's the most important thing. Now, that was a feint to send the 2 Zealots up there. He pulled those back. He wanted to try to force some Lings and then go back to defending. The cannon's going to finish before Lings can get there, so pretty much the entrance is safe, and now it's about playing cleanup crew in the main. You were mentioning earlier, Tastosis, that Action may try to do that turtley style. I think it's a smart move on this map. You know, basically he wants to just hold the easy spots on the top and probably play, you know, more of a hive tech game.
And, you know, that was a style that was a little bit more popular a few years ago. Larva and Sulky specifically extremely good at that style. And Action, I've definitely seen him do it a fair amount. Personally, I look at it, I really like it, and I feel like a lot of Protosses don't play well against it. But the thing is, Rain plays well against everything, just because I think that Rain's superpower is that he's smarter than everyone else.
Yeah, the funny thing with Rain is, like, you're right, like, he doesn't seem to be fazed by these setups that basically make the game pretty taxing for the Protoss. Just speaking from my own experience, when someone takes another natural, I really struggle to play against it. It looks like Rain, though, has set up a rush. He's kind of gone unnoticed and has snuck his 3 Zealots out over here. So the Lings are going to have to come across the map, but this is a pretty cool little victory here from Rain. He's going to now take these Zealots and put them behind the minerals and basically set up a position that's going to be really annoying to try to fight from here for Action.
Well, he's got speed for these Zerglings. He's going to come over and try to knock out these Zealots. Oh my god, single file for the one above the geyser. That's so painful. That one just will stay alive just about forever. The one at the top doing a good fight as well.
Yeah, nice idea.
Eventually this will get cleaned up, but I mean that was a lot of Lings he had to make to clean that.
Yeah, and you know, it can be a bit confusing, I think, even to people that have played the game quite a bit. Like, why is that worth it, right? It looks like because on the surface level it looks like the Zealots just died, and like, so what? You know, doesn't that seem that it seems like the Zerg is now ahead. The reality is that forcing the Lings delays the Zerg from making as many probes, and so that's the real victory. And you have to remember that Protoss never stops making probes in the early part of this game, so you're really forcing yourself to be way ahead. And once the gateway explosion is done, you're going to have so many gateways coming out here that forcing those Lings earlier on really helps.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, it's actually very complicated to play against Zerg compared to the other races because of that, and I feel like for newer players too, that can be a little bit complicated. When people ask me how to drone, I'm like, oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Like you know, these type of pressure plays are very strong because of what you said.
Even here, it's the same idea. Like, the Zealots are not going to win the fight in the long run, but he's forcing these Lings out, and then he just tries to trade really, really effectively. And keep in mind, you know, the Zerg, I think, has the 4th hatchery out, but really not that much production. You know, Zerg wants to get to 5 or 6 hatcheries here. The Protoss will always try to fill in all of the tech first, keep making probes, and then there's this moment where you suddenly have perfect block there, by the way. You know, no way for the Zerg to try to counter-punish. Yeah, you suddenly the Protoss is going to get, you know, 6 and then 8 gateways. And that's really tough. Oh, that was so sick.
That was amazing. Like, he juked it back and then he brought it back so that Action tried to run by, and then he went back and blocked it so only one Ling got through.
So good.
That was... Dude, like, Rain, really, you watch him play, and he's just so smart. Everything he does, he just, like, gets it.
Yeah, he's so graceful with his movement, even in, you know, positions that are kind of tough for the race to deal with. Now, Action has gone into Hydras, and I don't know if this is a response to the way the game has gone overall, but it seems like he wants to go into more of a powering and less of a turtling position here. And that may be because there's been a decent number of Zealots killed here. You know, just because the Zerg has this position that's pretty ideal for turtling and camping and hiding, it doesn't mean that you have to play the game that way, right? And so I think he might be trying to go for this mass Hydra speed overlord play and try to get some kind of a contained setup over here.
Well, I wonder if that'll actually do well against Rain, because look at what Rain is going for here. Like, he popped a probe over pretty early to 6 o'clock that we didn't really talk about, and he is killing that power generator with the probe. So he is going to be able to get a third base up that the Hydras can't get to. Like, you have to bring drones down to actually mine that out.
Well, the issue
if
really...
if you're going mass... mass Hydra, though, and Rain is sitting there on... you know, he has 1 choke to defend, and he has 3 gas, like, that looks to me like a good position for Rain.
No, the issue is not... I don't think he'll even get the third base. I think... let's see. Is he going to do it right now? Okay, look at that. The issue that I'm wondering here about is that when you get a Lurker Contain set up here, it's really, really hard for the Protoss to get out of. It's kind of like when Terran contain a Protoss on Eclipse and the Protoss is on 4 bases and the Terran's on 2, like we saw earlier in this season. If you can't get out of that one lane, the only lane that really gives you freedom on the map, that becomes a big issue. Now, that being said, there are ways to open this map up and kind of move around, but I'm curious, right? Because that was a Nexus thrown down before the gateway explosion that we have in the main. We haven't shown it on camera yet, but I think we're about to do that now. Here we go. So that's the gateway explosion, but to go 3 base before even getting your third gateway is kind of crazy. So let's see how this maps out.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm looking at this, and in my brain, this looks really good for Rain right now. Like, he's not contained at the moment. The third Nexus being this quick, he's just going to be able to produce more gas-intensive units than you would expect. And Action doesn't actually even know about that base yet.
Yeah, Action's not confirmed that, which is a little bit surprising. You know, again, this map is pretty new, so a lot of the very, you know, the little details that you have to keep track of in order to, you know, play on a map comfortably. Even some of the pros haven't really filled in those, you know, just yet. But
do you think he'll suicide those Corsairs onto the
yeah, that's the play. He learned that from the Bingsu game, no doubt. He didn't know about it until he saw that, and then he said, bravo. So, I talked about a Lurker Contain, and I don't know, I thought I was on to something when I saw that, but he's backed up. He's in a much more turtled position now. Now, some of these Overlords might be under threat. That one included, but really, fairly. But overall, you know, the Corsairs can't get many Overlord kills. Also, we should point out that although the third base has been taken for Rain, he doesn't have, like, any shuttle there yet with probes. Oh, here we go. Okay. I was going to say, if he just makes workers out of there, you know, it's hard to really take the full advantage of that base.
Yeah, it takes a long time to actually probe up off of a single Nexus, right? Like, you actually need to transfer workers, whether that's via shuttle or otherwise. So he does bring those over, and we'll start mining at much closer to full capacity there. Action, of course, taking that top right main base as we expected, and getting that very strong 4-base economy. And look at this. Rain is going to take a base that looks like his third, but it's actually his fourth.
Now, the Hive is coming here, and this is going to be the part of the game I'm kind of excited to see where it goes exactly. I do think base growth-wise, Rain's in pretty good shape, but the tricky thing right now is that there's actually really nowhere that is good to attack for the Protoss. You basically have Hydra, Sunken Colony, Lurker, with turtled structures there often. And even a maxed Protoss army, you know, the funny thing with Protoss is they don't really have like a siege tank or any kind of ranged unit that's easy to set up and then hit a location. Dragoons have to fight Sunken Colonies. Templars, I mean, they can storm Lurkers, but, you know, you also have to keep in mind that really the Templars are better for storming huge chunks of Hydras. So, it's sort of a funny thing with this matchup. There are some things that are like this for the Zerg attacking into a Protoss, like when you have, like, Reavers and cannons and all that. It's like, well, how do you really get in there? It's kind of a huge headache. So he looks like Rain might set up for a push. Let's see how this goes. I'm always in awe of Protosses that can really break positions like this.
Yeah, those positions are super hard to break. I feel like we see a lot of Protosses lose against this style when they really commit to try to killing a base like this. And he walks away because, and I think that's smart, like pick off a hatchery and then go elsewhere. That makes a lot of sense because you're getting a little bit of damage, but you're not actually committing, because when they commit, I mean, it's already hard to break, and then Zerg will come in from the other side with half or more of the army and sandwich you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like, you want to see, like, sadness, it's Dragoons getting flanked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like, getting the hatchery is a pretty good play. That is a production point, and, you know, he didn't really lose anything for that. Now, moments like this, I'm very curious about. You know, can he actually push up here and do so effectively? I'm not so sure.
He's getting some decent storms, starting to break through. It's a good spread of lurkers. Like, Action is taking about as little damage as you possibly can from the storms. Coming in with the rest of his army from that other side. But look at this. Rain going back towards the center. I love this roaming play that he's doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just, like, you know, wholeheartedly going after one location, he's, like, hitting and then backing up and going elsewhere. It almost looks like a high-level Terran versus Zerg type of play, right? Where you can't quite break through, so you keep going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically taking fights very well. I think even the DTs, this is a great way to play the game. Oh, my God. Ooh. This is so good. So he gets in there. Now, that Psystorm drop is so strong because at that moment, you know, it's really hard to, you know, for the Zerg to kind of balance all these different fronts. So this is impressive. And, okay, this is so cool. I've seen some players try to play this type of style. It's where you kind of go what I call single player, where you just start taking more bases. And, I mean, he's trying to take fights here and there. Hold on a second. Is he going to try to push through here? There's so many lurkers.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the Zerg
There's
army?
not so many when you storm them all. Look at that storm on the Nidus as well. Just pops all of those Hydras.
Oh,
and
my God.
Rain is just killing everything.
I guess he kind of outpositioned him with the DTs in the main, the kind of fake attack over there to the front. And now he's going to be able to break this down. The Lings are going to come in here for a counterattack. It seems like the Zerg is disjointed enough with the reinforcements where Protoss is really kind of flowing through this game, you know? Especially getting that Hydra Den. That means no more lurkers, which is huge.
Yeah, going to have to really rely on his Zerglings at this point, which, I mean, it's a great unit, but we've got 2 on upgrades on Archon Zealot Psystorm, so going to be pretty tough to make that work for you. Oh, no, he does have that Hydra Skin, so I guess it never did get sniped all the way. But, I mean, the Dark Storms are coming out that slows Rain down quite a bit. But Action is badly hurt. He's at half the supply of Rain right now.
Right. I mean, he's barely hanging on here. Niduses are being rebuilt. There's a very thin lurker defense, which is probably the most important thing. I'm sure the Hydra Den it might even already be remade, but, you know, until the lurkers are back into the game, the Zealots are no longer needing to respect this. And so, you know, the Zealots can actually just take fights in Dark Swarm. Another big drop in here, and Action cracks. Wow.
Yeah, and that is a triumphant return to ASL for Rain. Looked absolutely fantastic. He mashed up Bishop and then, you know, took that quick third base here and just kind of pummeled Action. Like, he was expanding quicker than we normally see from Protoss players, controlling his army really well, great army movements. You can see Action none too happy about that game.
Well, you know, it's hard to take fights outside of those naturals, and I mean, this is going to sound like maybe not great analysis, but I really will stick to what I'm saying. If you really take those fights extremely well and don't bleed off anything, you can do that. Like, he picked off the hatchery, Action turtled super hard and just gave it up. Then, you know, it was a pretty decent fight. He stayed in a sort of roaming movement, which forced Action to reconfigure the lurkers and try to figure out what's going on. And behind it, Rain just kept expanding. And the moment that Rain identified, okay, there's a weakness here, he went for it, he busted in there, and kept with the drops and won. We're going to go to an interview now with Rain. He's our first survivor from Group C.
ASL 시즌 13 24강 시조 경기 함께하고 계십니다. 오늘의 첫 번째 16강 진출자가 탄생했는데요. 돌아온 푸앙 정윤종 선수입니다. 축하드립니다.
아, 예, 감사합니다.
2년이 넘는 공백이 있었거든요, 분명히.
네.
그런데 그 공백이 전혀 느껴지지 않는, 느낄 수가 없는 경기력이었습니다. 손은 손대로 풀려 있고 개념은 개념대로 잘 정착돼 있는 정말 믿을 수가 없는 느낌이었는데 본인이 이렇게 스무스하게 16강에 진출할 거라고 어느 정도 예상을 하셨을까요?
우선 올라가서 기분은 좋은데 솔직히 경기력은 별로 안 좋았어가지고 좀 더 16강에서는 보완을 해야 될 것 같아요. 오늘 그래도 올라갈 것 같긴 했어요.
멀티태스킹이나 유닛을 활용하는 능력이나 그리고 또 운영하는 방식 정말 정윤정 선수가 돌아왔구나라는 느낌을 받았는데 ASL 준비하면서는 좀 어떤 과정들이 있었을까요?
일단 아무래도 제가 게임을 좀 많이 쉬어가지고 한 2년인가 3년 만으로 알고 있는데 ASL은 좀 많이 쉬어가지고 뭐 개념적인 부분이나 아니면은 조금 손놀림이 좀 예전 같지는 않기도 하고 저도 이제 나이를 좀 먹다 보니까 이제 손가락이 좀 많이 아프더라고요, 손목이랑. 그래서 좀 병원 다니면서 연습했는데 좋은 결과 있어서 좋은 것 같아요.
901일 만에 ASL 무대에 복귀이셨습니다. 정말 이대로 쭉 정윤정 선수가 다시 한번 우승까지 한다면 정말 드라마가 따로 없지 않을까라는 생각이 드는데 기대를 할 수밖에 없는 오늘의 경기력이었습니다. 저희 기대해도 되겠죠?
예, 기대해도 될 것 같아요. 왜냐하면은 아직 연습한 지 얼마 안 됐는데 지금 그래서 이제 시간이 좀 많이 남았잖아요. 16강까지는. 그래서 그때 동안 좀 열심히 하면은 충분히 이길 것 같아요. 다. 네.
팬들도 열광하고 계실 것 같습니다. 오랜만에 돌아온 정윤정 선수 팬분들께 하고 싶은 말씀 들려주시죠.
우선 제가 뭐 스타를 할 때나 뭐 스타를 안 할 때나 항상 응원해 주시고 다들 좋아해 주셔가지고 너무 감사드리고 팬분들이 저를 이제 응원해 주셨고 사랑해 준 만큼 제가 이제 돌아왔으니까 그거에 대해서 보답을 해드려야 된다고 생각을 해서 이번에 꼭 높게 올라가도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
돌아온 푸항 정윤정 선수의 행복 기대하겠습니다. 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 해서 오늘의 첫 번째 16강 진출자 정윤정 선수와 함께 했습니다. 저희는 잠시 후에 정민기 선수와 이경민 선수의 패자전으로 돌아오겠습니다.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 뭐야?
새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 나를 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫6.
All right, guys, we're back, and it's time to eliminate one of these players. We do have action remaining in Group C. He's going to fight the winner of this match. Rain survives and moves on, looking better than ever. Looks like he never stopped playing Tastosis, even though he really did.
Yeah, he certainly did. We're going to go to Monopoly for the first time. This is a 3-player map. We haven't seen it yet.
Right.
Definitely has a very interesting layout. As you can see, that third base is either very wide open or quite a long walk away from the natural. Of course, we're right now circling the center. Like, whoa, there's a base there. Well, we're not going to see that taken, guys. Don't worry. I guess you could, like, proxy stuff there, but...
Yeah, I mean...
Wait, is that an island?
No, I believe that is an island, yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's an island.
But it's also an island that's not that convenient to have, if you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of open and...
Dude, if that's an island, like, what am I? If you go speed shuttle toss against Terran, how does Terran kill that?
I love that that's the first thing you go to for, like, the way that this game could be imbalanced for Terran on this map. I don't know, man.
Faceless. This is my defensive mechanism as a Terran player. I'm like, I need to figure out my map vetoes immediately, or I fall to C rank. Okay?
It's like such an obscure thing to bring up with like in the matchup. I don't know. I don't know if that island's going to play much of a role. I mean, it is intentionally made very big and open. But I'm excited for this map. I think some of the features on this map kind of lend itself to be more of your ordinary map. It does seem like the third is pretty obtainable. You know, it's got a very straightforward, simple ramp up into your main. But I don't know, what to expect. I do love when we get new maps like this that are not completely batshit insane, because it's going to lend itself to play that we can all learn from, while at the same time,
Sure.
we're going to get a little bit of creativity, see some new stuff as well. So I'm excited for this one personally.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see what these guys are going to bring, and I want to double confirm if that's an island in the center, Tastosis, because if it is,
it's an
I'm
island.
going to veto that if it ever comes to ladder.
Yeah. All right. TVP on Monopoly, our first one for this ASL. Let's see how Bishop and Bingsu pan out here. I do want to say I think Bishop was looking like he was in better shape than Bingsu.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you there.
All right.
전투 준비 완료.
As it bleeds into me that it's seeking for you. Tell them the story, tell them the truth. As it bleeds into me.
모노폴리에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, in the top left, we have Bishop. And in that 3 o'clock position, we have Bingsu. By the way, 2 quick questions for you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like the ID Bishop, and do you like how he chose to cap it?
I like the ID, for one, for sure. I think it's a solid ID.
Yeah.
And I like the way he capped it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would agree on both those. Now, here's the third part of it. Do you think he named himself after the X-Men character, the chess piece, or the religious figure?
Or the character from Alien 3.
Oh, damn, yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was a chess piece because chess is not big out here. Go is, but
okay.
It's a good name. I feel like there are probably many other characters named Bishop. Could be the X-Men. They have a presence in Korea. Don't think it's the religious normie name, but
yeah.
I could be wrong about that.
I would agree that's the least likely. That's the least
like he
likely.
named himself Deacon
like
because he loves to go to church. I'm like, oh, all right. Well,
He
each his
named
own.
himself Cardinal.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, is he like religious or the bird? Like,
do you remember when we went to, was it the ASL qualifiers in Seoul? Or was that ACS?
I mean, I think I brought you to the ASL one.
It was the ASL one we went to, right?
Ones.
And I was playing,
I believe so.
and I got paired against somebody, and I said, I don't want to know who this person is because I'm going to be nervous if it's good, if the player's good, I'm just going to play this like it's a ladder game. And we found out I was paired against the guy who was ranked 7 on ladder.
Yeah, Ride Sky.
That's right, Ride Sky. I think his name was also Bishop, though, on the ladder at the time.
Bishop and Ride Sky are different players, but they're both like super high up there.
I was going to ask you if that was the same guy, but yeah, there was a Bishop ID. I thought that was him. Am I wrong? Am I making this up?
Well, no, I remember the game very well, and like Ride Sky stays in my mind because he makes new accounts and takes my MMR very regularly.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's very painful. But yeah, no, Bishop. I mean, he's been playing in all those forever as well.
Yeah, that was okay. I was wondering if this was perhaps the same player because we said Bishop played random. That guy just completely wrecked me with his Terran, man. That was brutal. That was. It's crazy when you play somebody that good that you could just feel it in every way they move in the game.
Yeah. Actually, it's very true. Like if you talk to people that really play a lot of Brood War, you can tell actually even when the worker comes in that they're like that it's serious. I was actually talking with like Nyokin the other day, I think on the Pylon show, like Brood War episode or something, where he was like, Yeah, you know, you like the probe comes in or something, and the way it moves, you're like, oh, this is serious. Like, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like when the drone just moving shots every one of your probes, and you can't get it away, and he kills it, and you're like, oh god, this guy is like got skills that I can't even really. You know, I'm dealing with things that I knew pros could do, but now I realize I've never had to deal with it myself.
Yeah.
So this
Tastosis. Yeah, we have a cheese going on, man.
Yeah, a 2-factory. I'd say the classic TVP cheese. This is actually one of the stronger, I'd say, rushes in the game. If you notice the entrance for Terran and the place where the CC is supposed to be, you can actually put a bunker pretty far up there. And it's hard for the Protoss to actually peek in and confirm that there's a command center. This can also just work a lot on maps where you just don't really have... Hold on, here we go. Now,
he does not try to run it by.
Yeah, because I think if he did, it might be just a bit too much of an overextension to where he's not comfortable about. So he's probably assuming there's a command center there. Now,
well, this could signal you too, though, because you know there's 4 Marines in there. No one makes 4 Marines in a bunker that quickly.
Oh, see, I hadn't even thought of that, Artosis. This is why having people to play the different races is such a helpful thing in the cast, and why our ZVZ casting is so useless. But yeah, that's a really good point.
But yeah, this is it could be a little bit tricky too, because 2-factory is not very popular at high levels right now. Because a lot of the standard Protoss builds that a lot of Protoss are using counter it pretty well, like Nexus first. And like any Zealot pressure openers, it's a little bit rough against that because you oftentimes can scout what they're doing because they don't have many Marines at the beginning. But here, Bingsu is going 3-gate Observer, which definitely gives him play against it. And now he knows. He sees so many Marines here.
Yeah. No, he knows what's coming. And this is the 3-tank, multi-Marine rush that's coming. Now, you can hold this with 3-gate, but it's not, it could be a little bit up in the air. It really depends on how everything's handled. It's going to be vultures coming from here on out. The most important point for Terran is to keep the tanks alive and let the vultures come in and basically push the Protoss as far back as possible. Now, look at this. An eBay block. He needs to cancel the observatory. I don't think he sees this. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that is brilliant.
That's so
I have
smart.
never seen that.
That's so smart.
But that being said, the micro here of Bingsu is fantastic. He hasn't lost a goon yet, and he's killed every Marine except for one. Really fantastically done.
Okay, he's able to just shoot down the few remaining tanks. He's going to plant some mines here. He does need an SCV to repair this. I think Bishop for a second kind of went all over the place there with that. He's got...
Yeah, some miscontrol.
For sure.
Picks off a tank there as well. He's only lost 3 goons.
Which is kind of crazy, all things considered.
Yeah.
Now, more vultures are going to come down here. There's enough objects in the way of the Terran push that he's really doing a good job sandbagging this. And look, he's got to be careful because this many Dragoons, you can actually start to one-shot vultures. And, when the Observer's out here, if you micro the Dragoons well and use the battery like we just saw Bingsu do, you could start to reclaim control here. And honestly, I would say that this 2-factory push that I thought was going to be like the greatest 2-factory ever with that eBay block has completely backfired.
Yeah, it was very good micro from Bingsu. You got to really hand it to him on that.
Sure.
And it's a risky build, and now Bishop's in a lot of trouble. Like, look, he's going to be down a hell of a lot of supply from here. He is making his command center at home, so he's going to try to move forward with this. But it's not a good situation. Like, he's going to be way, way, way behind on workers. And, I mean, what can he do here? Like, Bingsu has free run. He can do whatever he'd like.
Yeah, if you hold the rush like this, in other words, like, you never had to pull probes. He didn't even lose that observatory. Not that that's like the biggest deal, but just to put some emphasis on here, like that wasn't even destroyed. The rest of this game is pretty easy, I'd say, for the Protoss compared to a lot of other mid-game positions you could have here. He just needs to make sure vultures don't run into his main. And I think he's actually corked up the entrance with the a gateway or a pylon or something just to make sure of that. And counterplay is absolutely available. So he's put 2 pylons here, and that's the right idea. Basically, just make sure that they can't run back in.
Yeah, and as those goons connect to the mines, he checks with those vultures, but that is so expected. There's a possibility that he does not get broken here.
Well, he's got the shuttle with the
You don't
zealots.
have to break him. Yeah. He might hold though, right? With the bunker, he's only got one tank siege.
Oh, I didn't realize the Reaver was in here too. I thought it was just actually a couple of Zealots here. So here, if you micro the Reaver right, you can really do amazing things to the Terran as long as you just do it in between the tank shots. But I think that Bishop's going to hold. And, it's really important for the Protoss to not overextend or get too ambitious. I know that's sort of a theme in the entire matchup itself. Is to, the moment Protoss overextends, a lot of times all their units are killed. But he is taking full advantage of the fact that basically the Terrans very often don't have any real Reaver defense because they've invested so much into trying to kill off the Protoss early on. So you can see the abuse that's going down now in the Terran's base. He killed off a lot of SCVs. Development has really been staggered here. Protoss is going to take a third base. It's going to be a very tough game for Bishop from here on out.
Yeah, especially losing some of those SCVs there as well. Like, it's always really bad if the 2-factory doesn't kill the natural. That's kind of like the baseline, where the 2-fact, basically if you do not kill the natural expansion, or at minimum kill, a lot of probes there's just not much coming back. And he's in this position now where he has to guard Reaver, and he has to macro, and he has to get upgrades, and he has to expand, and he just doesn't have that much money. Look, he's at less than 60 supply against a Bingsu who's adding his gateways and is at about 100.
Yeah, this is really the toll Terran pays when they do not succeed with that 2-factory. If you get the right engage, and I would almost love to go back in slow motion and watch that fight happen and kind of see where Terran went wrong or where Bingsu went right. You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like everything was adding up. I think a couple more spider mines placed further out, and then more pressure and more coordinated pressure to the front. Maybe the Protoss eats some more damage, but when the 2-factory fails this much, look, that factory the Observer is over right now. That's the 3rd factory in this game. Things are very late.
Yeah. And to your point about the actual push, 2-factory is definitely something I think about a lot and have done a lot. And so I would say I think that a big part of the problem is he led with his Marines too hard.
Oh, really?
Right? They got shaved down so quickly. It was only 4 goons. They tank for the tanks very well against lots of Dragoons, but if it's just one of those kiting battles, you want your tanks even with the Marines so that he doesn't get free shots, because a Dragoon can't free shot a siege tank. They have, the siege tank has the range to just hit the goon. So if you look at how many stutter step shots he took, he shaved down 6 Marines by the time he got there. Right? So that's...
Do you think the Terran should have brought shots? I'm sorry, do you think the Terran should have brought more SCVs with that? Is that what makes that maybe a little bit more effective? Because there was only one SCV with the rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I always bring 2 to 3 because it's you're basically all in anyways. You may as well, But it didn't quite work out, and here now we have those speed shuttles flying around. 4th base coming up. Bishop's just adding a bunch of factories, which I think is the right play. You might get busted otherwise. This threatens possibly an attack, so Bingsu has to, he can't be too greedy here.
Ooh! Got a little bit too greedy with that. Take that, Depot. Gotta be careful when you're gotta be careful when you're Protoss and you get a little bit too far out like that. He's gonna be ready after the first time that the tanks come in. I do like the additional shuttle here, and it looks like this setup is pretty smart here from Bingsu. He's just gonna get another shuttle. He's gonna get 4 Templars. He knows that Terran could never take a 3rd base, and so Terran won't right away. Terran's going to try to power up and come out and take a much later 3rd or try to push out. So what he needs for that is Psystorm.
Yeah, it's actually a great way to do it if you have Terran kind of contained in here for an abnormally long amount of time. If you make that arc and have Psystorm, it's so hard for Terran to push out of there.
And it's much better
because everything's clumped as they come out.
Yeah, and it's much better than an Arbiter, I think. Even though an Arbiter, Arbiters are always good to have, but a Terran's going to come out. They will scan enough times that the Protoss units are going to be visible. But 4 Psystorms, that's a lot harder to deal with.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Arbiters can be very scary, but I feel like right now they're more of a late game unit than they used to be. It's more like, nah, just use those use Psy Storms in the beginning. Now, the Dragoon's going to slow everything down as Bishop tries to start pushing out. The 2 Speed Shuttles just kind of waiting way off on the side there. We'll see what his tactic is going to be. Is he going to come in towards the army or towards those SCVs?
I'm curious about this. I feel like a drop may be the wrong idea, like a drop into the main, that is, or a nat. I think what he needs to do is drop on the army, but Bingsu...
I would agree with you.
This feels like a win more move, but let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to come in.
Oh,
I'm
look,
sorry, that's the Reavers. I thought there was Templars in there or something. But this wasn't really worth it either. I mean...
That was terrible.
I think he would have been better served to have this drop on the actual army of Bishop when he comes out, you know?
Well, he's still, like, pretty far up. He's up a good 60 supply still and up 2 bases, so definitely Bingsu's still in a good spot. But, yeah, that was... I think you're right. I think it was a little bit of a win more move, where it's like, really all you need to do is prevent another base or break down some tanks.
Okay, I don't see Templars in there either. Am I wrong about the Templars? I thought okay, here we go. I was like, am I crazy? I swear I saw Templars in this game. Now, this attack is less than ideal right now for Bingsu. It's kind of hard to get in there. The depots really help out a lot. They draw a lot of the attack fire out. But basically, Bingsu succeeds. He's got to be careful not to overextend. He should probably get that one last tank and go.
Yeah, he's overstaying his welcome there just slightly. But retains that big 60 supply advantage. Looks like he wants to take yet another base here in that bottom left in the 3rd main. Still, Bishop, he's macroing up. He's doing what he can. It's actually down in upgrades against Protoss right now, which is not a common thing to see.
Yeah, I guess it's not that impactful, but you're right. Normally, the upgrades, they sort of come organically. When you're in this position. But I think that Bishop is on his last set of legs here. Oh, good catch on the dropship, too. Yeah, I mean, Bishop can't get any win here. Again, really, this all goes back to the failed 2-factory play. It's not like Bishop is playing very poorly. But, Bingsu has harnessed the economic advantage that was given to him after that 2-factory play. And all that Bingsu has to do from here is basically just attack in like this over and over and over and wear the Terran out until there aren't any, units that are left to defend here. So he's just going to clean up the mines down here, probably back up with those Dragoons like that. And then he's just going to basically run in here and try to trample the Terran's position. And Terran is especially vulnerable right now as the tanks aren't sieged. He needs to siege up immediately. That's at least 1 or 2 tank volleys that will not see the light of day.
Yeah, the shuttles fly in and aren't doing all that well, but there's just so many units here for Bingsu. Like, it doesn't even matter how inefficient he is. It's efficient enough.
Yeah, and again, this 3rd command center is probably never going to find a new home here. We may see Bishop just tap out. GG, that's going to be it. Nicely done.
Yeah, and look, I'm not too surprised he used a 2-factory opener, but I think Harangi way out-microed him. You can see he's really frustrated with himself. It's tough. Your first ASL is never going to go well. This is why we have almost no Royal Roaders in 24 years of StarCraft tournaments. There's very, very few that win anything on their first try. You have to get here multiple times to really have a chance to do anything. So Bishop out in last place. But again, the least experienced player in the tournament, you can't expect too much more from him.
You can see the adrenaline still going through, his system. It's an overwhelming experience. The cameras, the lights. I don't think he played badly either. I think he's got a lot of promise, but you got to wait to the next season, man. Season 14, go.
Yep. We'll see if he can make it back in. I think Bishop is going to be one of these guys that's popping in and out of ASL through the future. Harangi, of course, or Bingsu, seems to always make it in, but is he going to be able to get out of this group into that round of 16? That's the big question tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have Bingsu versus Action coming up. This is going to be a fun match, a fun rematch here. Let's see how Bingsu does. Guys, we've got a short break. We will be right back.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어느덧 레벨 핫6. 어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어느덧 레벨 핫6.
ASL 시즌 13 Unlimited.
What's up, everybody? We're back, and it's time to do the final game of Group C. Now, this is a rematch, Action versus Bingsu. Look, Bingsu didn't look that great in the Action match earlier. I mean, especially when he sent the Corsairs to all die into the Hydras. That was just totally bizarre. But maybe we can just chalk that up to nerves. Everybody has weird games like that, you know, where even when you're doing it, you're thinking, like, why am I doing this? This is terrible.
Yeah.
And look, all he has to do is win in the rematch. It doesn't matter that Action beat him before. That's not how the format works. So if he can prove himself here and beat Action, it would be a huge win for him, and he would advance.
Well, if that happens, Tastosis Extended Series wins again. Because, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think Action definitely quite favored. I believe Vermeer is going to be the map we're going into. Yeah, there it is.
Vermeer.
All right, so...
Vermeer, my favorite map. Action versus Bingsu, guys. Action looking tough. Unable to beat Rain, but Rain is a different beast. Can Bingsu play a little bit more cleanly, kind of react properly to Action? We're going to find out now, as these are the final two players in Group C. One moves on, and one is knocked out of Season 13 of the ASL.
버미오에서 게임을 시작합니다.
All right, so we have Action there in the top left, and in the top right, we have Bingsu.
So, I mean, you know, the game that these guys played against each other, what was funny about it was, I think, as far as the way the build orders pan out, like, they were both, they looked fine. I mean, we expect that at the highest level, sure, but nobody made any really weird decisions until, you know, basically the Protoss tech was done, and it's time to get the third base. And, you know, the Zerg, you know, did try to expand. It was almost a footnote in that game compared to everything else that happened, but the DT denied it. What was odd was that Bingsu suddenly followed a set of decisions that just didn't add up to what we saw the Zerg doing, and that's something that we don't very often see in ASL games. You know, usually both players are playing pretty well and, you know, or even extraordinarily, but one player outdoes the other. The fact that, you know, on 3 bases, Bingsu tried to end the game while leaving a neglected third base.
Yeah.
I mean, these are sort
and
of...
it was like right after he got the third against a Zerg sitting on 3, and to throw the Corsairs away like that, which is like, this is StarCraft 101. Like, I mean, let alone be an ASL level player, you can't play like that and get, you know, high on the ladder even. It's like, no, that's going to bite you in the ass a lot to throw away your Corsairs like that. That's a basic thing not to do.
These are games where you show the replay to a better player and they go, yeah, you don't need to attack him here. You're getting your third base. That really puts pressure on him to expand. So I don't want to say that Bingsu doesn't know, you know, the ebb and flow of a normal PvZ, but it was weird to see him kind of put himself out of position. By the way, this is a Forge expand with the option of a Cannon Rush. Does he go for it? He's not going to, but he certainly tried to bluff it.
Yeah. The drone actually turned around from going to the third and then turned back around because he was like, oh no, he's not actually going to do it. And comes up into the main base, makes his Nexus here, doesn't need a cannon as of yet, and just getting some good scouting going. Seems like Action is going to take his own third there down to the south at about 9 o'clock. And I mean, this looks to me like it's going to be another pretty standard opening on both sides. You think Action is going to kind of just sit like we saw in the other games? It seems like he doesn't like to be too active early on and just wants to really fill out his tech and upgrades.
I'm sorry, can you ask me that one more time, Artosis?
Well, I was saying that it seems like this is, going to go pretty standard like the other games, and if you thought that Action is likely to kind of play a little bit passively and, fill out his upgrades in tech.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah, sorry, I got you.
The
cat knocked something over my desk. I was taking care of something the first time. Yeah, sorry. It's hard to say for now. I think we're going to find out shortly here. I do think that, right now, if I just point out the situation that's in front of us here, there is an option to go for a Hydra Den for Action. It's very tempting. It's going to be hard to block. He's going to do it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's. By the way, this is a tooling block, which is insane, dude. This is like so naked. It's like he's just got a banana sling on or something. Like, this is so. I can't even believe it.
A two-ling banana sling.
It's not even like that. It's like he's completely naked and he's got a sock over his genitals or something. Like, this is such... this is... Normally it's like, 6 lings or 4 maybe. But this is like nothing. Okay, he gets 4 later on, but this is crazy, dude. And he actually throws down a couple more lings, which is interesting. That's going to pair with the Hydras coming out here, but oh my God.
And Bingsu just doesn't know yet. As far as he can tell, just, Action has 3 feet.
Yeah. It's wild. And, we don't know this map very well, but it does appear this is pretty short travel distances, right? So, like, he can just run right up here. And, this probe has been bullied back pretty effectively. Now, this is going to be ling speed into a Hydra bust. So... the Zealots are going to try to come out, but I don't think he's sent these out in time to confirm the Hydra bust. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, the Corsair, should fly over them as they're approaching, right?
Yeah, which is pretty much the last second thing you can do to confirm the Hydra bust, and it really only buys you a second. So he's made a kind of deterrent cannon here, like, just in case he is in the dark. He's aware that, like, this is an ambiguous game, but... and look, the second cannon may save your skin this game, but I'm fearful for the guy.
It's so far forward. Like, we see a lot of Protoss space the cannons back just slightly more than this to make it hard for the Hydras to jump up and pop them, but these are, like, aligned right on the building, so
yeah.
It really feels to me like Action is just going to bust him.
Yeah, the Zealots are out as well. And the thing is, once the Hydras can run, like, just like this, they can just start to target down the cannon. That's when it becomes a huge problem. Now, this cannon as well is also hugging the Nexus, so you can get right up in front of it. If the cannon's 1 hex away, it's a little bit different. Note that he targets down the probes before going for that, but as you can see, it's adequate range for the Hydras. So I think this game has ended. The last Zealot's going to pop out. He gets the kill on that. And, the cannons, nothing dies faster than a cannon, so I think that we've basically seen... a win here for Action. Very decisive play. I don't think this was the plan coming into this. GG. He basically said, wait a minute, your probe's far out enough. You never checked my main. And the Bingsu didn't even try to test the waters there and check for that den. That being said, it could be blocked with lings, but, Action, at the drop of a hat, decided to go for it, and it worked, man. And Bingsu's out.
Yeah, I got to say, it was a little bit of a disappointing night for Bingsu. I don't think he played to the level that I got used to him playing at. And, he just got manhandled by Action twice. And, he beat Bishop, the newest player, but he just kind of out-microed him holding a 1-base build that's not even very popular right now for many reasons. So, I don't think it was a good night for Bingsu. I hope that he can bring something better next season, but that's it for him. He's out, and Action advances. I tell you what, we have no upsets this season so far.
I don't know why we have this part of the tournament anymore, Artosis.
Yeah.
ASL 시즌 13
Hey, quick
24강
interview.
시조 경기 모두 만나보셨습니다. 오늘의 두 번째 16강 진출자 저그 김성대 선수와 함께하겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
24강을 통해 16강에 오른 첫 번째 저그 선수입니다. 오늘 이경민 선수를 두 번 잡고 또 올라오셨는데요. 소감 먼저 여쭤볼게요.
우선 경기에 임하기 전에 올라갈 줄은 알았는데 이게 맵 해보니까 승자전 맵이 조금 어렵더라고요. 그래가지고 좀 걱정도 많았는데 오늘은 충분히 이길 수 있는 상황에서도 약간 제가 좀 쫄고 들어간 것 같아서 좀 경기가 아쉬워요.
정윤종 선수와의 승자조 경기가 좀 아쉬우셨던 것 같은데 어떤 부분이 좀 기억에 남으시나요?
일단은 이제 원래 준비하던 빌드보다는 그냥 링이 지나가져서 좀 즉흥적으로 바꿨는데 포토를 많이 박는 걸 보면 이제 게이트가 늦게 늘어나는 걸 알고 확 붙였어야 됐는데
네.
이제 경기다 보니까 뭔가 상황 파악을 좀 늦게 해가지고 제가 더 안 좋은 상황을 뭔가 자초한 것 같아서 아쉬웠어요.
그래도 김성대 선수의 이 노련함답게 또 16강에 올라오셨는데요. 이경민 선수의 최종전에서도 깔끔하게 이 바로 저글링과 히드라 나오는 타이밍에 입구를 뚫어내면서 승리를 거두셨어요. 타이밍까지 정확하게 계산을 하셨던 움직임이었나요?
아니요, 솔직히 경기 준비는 아예 안 했는데 최종전은 안 했거든요. 근데 이제 윤종이랑 경기 리플레이를 보니까 제가 고민했거든요. 올인도 할까 이렇게 했는데 경기 보니까 뭔가 올인했으면 죽었을 것 같은데 제가 너무 운영을 한 것 같아서 그냥 대충 해야겠다 했더니 경기가 좀 잘 된 것 같아요.
손이 가는 대로 플레이를 하셨는데 이렇게 또 좋은 결과가 김성대 선수에게 주어졌습니다. 자, 3시즌 만에 16강 진출입니다. 오랜만에 또 김성대 선수가 몸을 풀고 좀 날아오를 준비가 되셨을 것 같은데요?
우선은 그 경기 준비하는 과정에서 변현재, 장윤철, 윤수철 이 세 선수가 좀 많이 도와줘서 토스전을 좀 편하게 했던 것 같고 그리고 확실히 요새 좀 스타판 문화가 많이 바뀌었잖아요. 대학판도 생기면서 해가지고 사실 저저번 시즌까지만 해도 약간 손목도 아프고 해서 의욕이 없었는데 약간 감성여대 소속감도 생기면서 해가지고 좀 열심히 할 수 있는 계기가 되는 것 같아서 잘 해보겠습니다.
네, 또 지금 16강에 올라온 토스 선수들이 굉장히 많습니다. 어떤 조에 또 포진해 있을지도 김성대 선수가 기대되는데요. 끝으로 팬분들에게도 한 말씀 해주시죠.
우선 조가 쉽다고 해가지고 막 무조건 올라가야 된다 이런 말들을 많이 들었는데 이게 제가 쉬운 조에서는 항상 떨어지고 또 어려운 조에서는 올라가고 막 이랬어가지고 걱정이 되더라고요. 그래서 이틀 전부터 연습에 매진했는데 좋은 결과 나와서 다행이고 많이 응원해주셔서 감사합니다.
네, 김성대 선수 오랜만에 16강 진출인 만큼 멋진 모습 앞으로도 기대하겠습니다. 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
네, ASL 시즌 13 24강 시조 경기 두 번째 16강 진출자 김성대 선수와 함께했습니다.
And there you have it. Rain in first place, Action in second. It definitely felt like they were by far the better two players. And Rain looking great, man.
Dude, Rain is crazy good at this game. Like, the way he handled, especially in the action game, I'm like, God, you just really... He doesn't seem to have the same kind of problems that Brood War players have, where, like, everything's kind of hard to do, you know? He made that look so easy. So, Protoss just murdering in this ASL. We've got 5 already in the round of 16. I mean, I'm looking forward here to Group D. Off the top of my head, I suddenly can't remember who was in that group, but I think this is one of our not two Protosses groups.
Well, that will be good to add another race in there as well. But, you know, so far it's not really a racial thing. It's a level of the players thing. It's been very obvious who was going to advance. I felt like Group 1 Barracks could have made out, and then he just died to that 4 pool, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. You know, that could have been one. Like, if he got in over Shuttle, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But let's take a look, guys.
It is two Protosses. I'm sorry.
Well, don't worry. Gyemchi should not be able to get out of that group, man. If he gets out of there, that's something else. But yeah, we definitely have some of these other groups. Like, look at that. Soma is definitely going to get out of Group E. Look at Group F here. Jadong and Solki. Like, oh my God. Definitely some more Zergs going to the next round.
Yeah, for sure. This Group D is going to be a lot of fun, man. Snowplane and Royal. I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh, absolutely. And Gamo is really underrated.
Yeah.
He is like an extremely underrated Zerg player. I think there's not very much exciting about him. But that means he's really solid, you know? It's not like, oh, this guy's really cheesy or this guy only abuses macro. He's a very solid player. So, I mean, there could be upsets in that group, but definitely Snow and Royal looking poised to move to that next round.
Our trend of expected results could certainly continue on here.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that recording banged out immediately. We appreciate everybody being patient, with some of the delays here, but every ASL season we have to get all the visual assets set up, the translations, but we should be having the rest of these VODs come out pretty quickly here.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They are rolling right through. Our great editors, Nice Username and Cobra, doing such a fantastic job. And, of course, our translator, Banana Soup. Big cheers to them all for helping us put together the ASL VODs.
Let's leave this graphic up a little bit longer, Tastosis. There's what is going on?
I want to just live here forever in this graphic.
They throw us back on camera. I'm like, no. I've got more to say about Group D here. But in all seriousness, I mean,
it was a fast group tonight, so just leave that graphic up.
Well, they're apparently going to. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this ASL. We're going to have that Group D out right away. And, of course, thank you, everybody who's been supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL. We love you guys, and we'll see you in Group D. Bye-bye.
ASL English.
Sorry, ASL English. Don't go to that. That's the wrong Patreon if you go to the other one. We'll see you guys in Group D. Bye-bye.